In this video, I'm going to be going over some of my personal favorite philosophical quotes that I've actually created myself over the time, many of which are heavily rooted in Buddhist and shamanic teachings. Now, I have a list here of just the different quotes I have came across myself over time, and I want to touch on each one and describe what it means and why it resonates with me the way it does. Many of these quotes actually came to me while I was falling asleep, strange enough. Others came to me during psychedelic experiences or just when I was faced with a certain scenario in my life. So the first one here is, we live in a world where we believe in things we don't see and see things we don't believe in. This is generally relating to just the mass populace of people, where many of the things that we believe in are very little apparent in our lives, in our actual day-to-day lives. And many of the things that are apparent in our day-to-day lives, as they are denied and said to be wrong or an accident or whatever it may be, yet they're relying on a belief system in their own minds that has never been seen or experienced by anything other than their own mind. And it's just a very weird way of looking at the way people in our society believe and think, is that a lot of what we actually resonate with is within our own minds and is never actually experienced in our day-to-day life. The next one I have is, the thing wrong with education is that we're digging not to go deeper, but to say we dug. This also applies to society, in that astrologists and psychologists and all the fields of study that are trying to expand and broaden our understandings of the world, some definitely are doing it for a deeper understanding to themselves of what's going on, or to share with the others what's going on. But what this quote really is talking about is people that are engaging in these fields of study only to flaunt about it and to say they did it. This applies to going to space, and it applies to taking a large dose of psychedelics. It applies to finding anything out on your own that is only in the regards of telling others that you did it yourself and you found it out yourself and all this and that. Is, you're not doing it for the deeper understanding of something. You're doing it to report to all the others that you did it, like it's some sort of reward, like you deserve a cookie or something. This next quote I have here is, a leaf is still a leaf after it is burnt. This is actually said by my brother, and what it means is that generally we're all under the impression that if you were to set a leaf on fire and it turns into smoke, that smoke is no longer a leaf, it's smoke. And if you were a scientist, you would say it's an arrangement of carbon and whatever is contained in the smoke. But what this quote is really getting at is that if you're calling this leaf a leaf, what was it beforehand? And why wasn't that the leaf beforehand? And when you burn this, how is it all of a sudden a new idea of something? And that's just it, it's our application of what it is. That leaf is still very much the same leaf wisping through the air as that new form that it is in. But we identify with it in a much different way, that it is a completely different thing now. And what this really means is that everything that is happening around us is essentially the same event taking place and changing amongst itself, and that no thing is actually separated. It's more or less just changing within itself. This next quote, I like this one. What language is laughter? This was something that my brother also said that I actually really liked, and I was thinking about it. And when we laugh, it's not rooted in any sort of dialect in language. We all laugh. We all are overcome by that feeling of laughter. And when he said that, I was like, damn, bro, like, that makes sense. Like, and it showed to me that emotion is beyond culture. Emotion and happiness and true intuition into things is beyond your cultural teachings and what you've been taught and all this and that. And you're not humorous in English or humorous in France or whatever it may be. You're laughing. You are humorous as it is, and it transcends these levels of culture. So this next quote I have is, "You are an idea put into action." What this means is that basically everything you do, every way you act, every word you say, every gesture you make is an idea put into action. The way you present who you are, who you think you are at least, to the external world and other people and all this and that is at a deep level an idea within your head that has been implanted in your head, whether it be by yourself or from who raised you, your parents. You are putting this idea into action, and it's not actually who you are. You are acting out. You are personifying these thoughts and ideas in your mind that you think represent you, and you are using them essentially as a gown of who you are and expressing them physically. This next one, I like this one. We are creations, creating things in an already created universe. This one just came to me out of nowhere, and I was like, what the fuck? What does this mean? And after really thinking about it, it hit me deep. We are creations, right? We were born. We were created by our parents, our mother and father. We were created into this world. And we are creating things. I'm creating this video right now. Everybody is creating things. This necklace was created by somebody. This device right here was created by... Everything you see in front of you right now is a creation. We are creations, creating things in an already created universe, where it's this weird three-pronged experience where the creator is creating things inside of it that create more things, and you are all of them. And it was just this weird fucking epiphany, like realization I had, just like, damn, like, we are creating things within an already created universe, and we ourselves were created. This next one, you are the only one present your whole life. What this means, this is denoting to basically relying on others for your happiness and motivation and satisfaction in life. That thinking you need other people with you at all times to be who you are and be to your fullest potential. Well, this quote, "You are the only one present your whole life," what it essentially means is you, yourself, are the only one that is going to be with you from the beginning to the end, through it all, thick and thin. And I saw it as a sort of, you should befriend yourself fully, wholeheartedly, to where you accept yourself alone before you place your happiness and guidance in the hands of others, if you do at all. Sorry about my dog barking in the background. This next one, you can't help the helpless. Now, at first this might come off as dark or mean or whatever, but what it really means is that we are all subjectively identifying with things as our own selves in this universe. And somebody who is in a state of utter suffering and just sheer pain and agony and hate and nihilism that would most likely identify themselves as helpless, they're going to be very, very stubborn in the senses of getting to them with advice and wisdom of just trying to nudge them out of that hole they're in. Somebody who is identifying with the idea that I'm helpless, I will never be better, is going to take a lot longer to work themselves out of this situation. Compared to somebody that would say, damn, this is a pretty weird situation, and took it as that, rather than imposing all these futuristic expectations and anxiety-ridden beliefs of what's going to happen and why your life is shit and all this and that. It's going to be a lot harder to help those people. This next one. Laws of reality are a mass scale hallucination. A lot of these quotes you can see apply to the society, the people, modern society. What we call the laws of reality, physics and gravity and inertia and all this and that, every field of study, is a mass scale hallucination. And this mass scale part means the more people that believe in it, the more they're gonna think it's what it is. If you have everybody believing that when I drop this, when I let go of it, it's going to drop, they're going to say that's how reality works. But somebody who was never really introduced to these laws of physics could, and probably will, come up with a much different explanation as to why this device moves downward when I let go of it. Our society and basically just modern culture is very materialistic in the way they explain things and say the universe works and all this and that. And a lot of people swear by it. But me, myself, and many other people have experienced this reality in a much different way, in a much more non-sequential way that can't really be explained through physics or science or astrology or really anything. It's just, when you have a lot of people believing one thing, they're going to think that's how it works. And they're going to tell others, no, you're wrong, this is how it works. This next quote, there is nothing that is nothing. This is kind of like a Zen paradox quote, where basically I had a problem with the idea of nothing. Like, what is nothing? And if I were to describe it and analyze it, whatever I am making of it, or filling the blanks in that moment of what it is what it is, and therefore it's not nothing. How can one experience nothing? How does no thing happen? How does nothing happen, you know? And I feel that you can't have one thing and then no thing. There isn't a space where there isn't something. Because if you were to, like I said, see this space and perceive it, analyze it in any way, that's what it is. That's what it is fully. And it is never it's kind of like the gap between your thoughts. There is never really that conscious moment of nothing. Even though it's happening, nothing is happening, right? It's a very deep paradoxical quote that it makes sense to me how I guess worded it to myself. This next one is, that which is hated is human. What I meant by this is hate is a very characterized thing. It's a very opinionated, structuralized feeling, and at times it's an obligation. You feel the need to hate, you know. And what made me say this is that when I look at wildlife and things that appear to be hateful to other animals, I see that they are driven out of a state of primal instinct where they are not conscious of hate and good and bad, and they are being driven by physical impulses. It appears that way. But us, we can hate things for no given reason. We can hate someone for no reason. A reason that we don't even understand to ourselves. We were just told to hate it. And that's what made me feel that this definition of hate it only resides in us. Hate only resides within humans. It only resides within you, the expressor of that hate. Let's see here. Things are only problems when you've prepared for them to be problems. This applies to what you've been told as a child, or anxiety-ridden people that think they're predicting how the world is going to happen. And like right now, I know my parents are going to die. I've essentially prepared for this to be a bad time. A bad phase of my life where I will be sad and everything will feel like shit and all this and that, what comes with a passing of a parent or a loved one. And this applies to anything you believe to yourself that would be bad. You are preparing for it to be that way, where when it happens, you're right, it is bad, it's shit. It couldn't be any worse because you've prepared for it to be that way. So, what this quote basically means is take some time to reevaluate what's actually gonna be bad in your life. Because when you really look at it, there's not too much that's bad about what's going on. That's another one I like. Let the thoughts think. What this quote means is that you have the ability to think for yourself, where you kind of direct how you feel. It's how I'm making this video right now. I'm directing the flow of my mind to say what I want and all this and that. But there are going to be many times in your life, like laying down in bed at night, you're not trying to think, or meditation, you're not trying to think, and a large part of your life is filled up by this non-influenced thinking, where you are just, your mind is just going. And a lot of time, when you're having bad thoughts, you are heavily rooted into these bad thoughts as if you are influencing them. You are, because you are perpetuating them, essentially. And what this quote means, let the thoughts think, is pull away and allow those thoughts to think as they are. This is a very meditative quote, where you watch the thoughts and let them do the thinking, because you aren't the one thinking. You are the one observing the thinking along with everything else. So let the thoughts do the thinking. You can't doubt what happens. This quote means that we can explain things in as many ways as we want, infinite ways, I could imagine. But essentially, what happens, how you're feeling, what you're seeing, what you're thinking, every asset of your experience as a human being right now, you can't doubt that. You can't doubt what is happening. And this was a weird realization to me, was this universe isn't somebody's idea. It's happening. I can't doubt this. This is real. It's happening. And that's essentially what that quote means, is you can't doubt the universe. You can't doubt what's actually happening. No matter what way you look at it, what are you looking at, you know? No matter what you're doing, you're also breathing. And it's funny because I just came to the realization that through this whole video, I've been breathing too. And what it is it's a meditative kind of quote, again, where through thick and thin, you could be sleeping at night or dying, crying, living a painful, sobbing life. You're in a huge fight, whatever it may be. You're still breathing. If you're human, you're still breathing. And what this means is it's always something to return to. It's always a place of experience, an easy place to return to, where in any given situation you can pull back to this point of in and out. And it's beautiful, and it's very calming, honestly, to no matter what situation you're in. There's just this thing going on, and there's a lot of things going on, but like I said, this breath is very persistent, almost constant. If you're not helping, you're hiding. What this quote means is, in any given situation, whether you're with somebody or alone, we are all heavily ridden in deluded belief systems and sadness, suffering, and pain and fear, and the list goes on. The list goes on of all the problems in our lives. And what this quote really means is that if you're not doing something for yourself or for somebody else, you're backing away, backing into the corner of the complications of the life that you know you're in. Nobody floats through life unless you are some sort of level of unconscious, I guess. Nobody just gets through life all butterflies and rainbows. You are going to experience hardship and sadness and everything like that. And if you're not doing something to address why you feel the way you do about these things, or why these things seem so shitty to you, or addressing why somebody else in your life is projecting things in such a nihilistic way, whatever it may be, if you're not attending those situations, which are ultimately always going on, you're turning away from them. You're acting out of a place of denial, essentially. This next one is, to blame anything is to blame nothing. This kind of ties into a quote I said earlier, but what it means is, if you have the audacity to blame a direct thing in your life for the cause of what's going on, if you've done the work, if you've done the self-reflection, Buddhist teaching is what I'm directly talking about, you will understand that that thing you think is causing all this hardship for you is a void of that thing at all. It's not actually that whatsoever. And you are the perpetuator of the thing it is that is that is causing this, whatever it may be. And essentially what it means is that if you can blame anything in your life, you're ultimately blaming yourself, because there's nothing out there that is to be at fault besides your own perceptions and your own projections of your mind. And this is the last one here. There is nothing that represents you. Now what this means is there is not one single solid thing that represents you individually as a person or whatever you think you are. There is not a single thing that represents who you are or what you are. And if I was to say there is something that represents what I am or who I am, it's everything. An encapsulation of everything ever that there is to be imagined ever is what represents me. This is a common Alan Watts quote. Says, where do you feel yourself in your body? Commonly it might be in your head or in between your eyes or maybe in your heart or something, but no. How do you know myself isn't in my toe or my knee? You know, it's that idea, is that there is not one actual thing that represents who you are. So that's it for my personal quotes that I've made and that heavily resonate with me in my life and I actually apply in my day-to-day life, that just allow me to see things on an easier, more understandable basis. So that's it for this video, and I will be back with more soon.